Hi, everyone. So I'm kind of being prompted to share with you all a little bit today in a personal story, a personal experience that I had about 5 years ago, um, in the hopes that it will be something that inspires you or provides you a little bit of a healing or a short sort of shift in perspective from the way that you've been viewing yourself or your situation, particularly if you have just ended a relationship or gotten divorced, or have been single for a long time. And so, about 5 years ago, I had completed, 2 years of schooling to do integrative nutrition and be a holistic health coach. And so, one of my business development things was to be going to like health fairs. And so, on a Saturday, at a Gold's Gym that was local in the area that I was living in, they had this sort of collection of all of these businesses that were set up with little tables. And they were, everything from a chiropractor, there was insurance, Mary Kay, what have you. Right next to me was, at the time, an Asian woman who was there to kind of promote her new nail salon. And I had, tried to engage her in a little conversation, and she was friendly, but, we just didn't really strike up much, and that's fine. So about, if you've ever been in the gym industry or are a regular gym goer, you'll know that Saturday afternoons are about like a ghost town. So by that point in the day, everyone starts to, all the vendors start to like go visit each other's tables and talk and what have you. And I noticed that this woman had shifted and her husband had come in. So again, I kind of went and introduced myself to him and just started this conversation with him, and he was so gracious and so kind, and he started sharing with me so much about his life and all of the trials and tribulations they had been through, and he really attributed them kind of being able to get their lives back on track and to move forward in a more effortless manner, one that's considered to be more prosperous or abundant, because he had really devoted his life to God and became a reborn Christian, and he had these really traditional values. And so I must have mentioned something about my daughter, and he, lights up right away, and he was like, "Oh, so you're married?" And I said, because 5 years ago is not who I am now, and I immediately felt this sort of shame or a judgment, and was worried about how he was going to perceive this, knowing that he comes from such traditional Christian values. And I sort of embarrassingly said, "No, I'm not, I'm divorced," and proceeded to explain that, my ex-husband was a really great man, and things went amicably, and, just kind of was floundering around to like explain myself or to make it in some way more agreeable to what I was holding on to as sort of his really traditional Christian values. And if you ever have one of those moments where something comes out of your mouth and you swear it is not your own, this was maybe one of my first and most pronounced experiences with that. I looked at him and I said to him, the reality of the situation is that I could not stay in that marriage and be who the world needs me to be. And I immediately got all choked up and was super surprised and besides myself. I had no idea where on earth that came from. First of all, it seemed like a pretty grandiose statement. I certainly had never looked at myself or the work or service that I wanted to do in this world in that kind of way by any means. I certainly would have never explained the reason why, my marriage, I chose to leave my marriage in that kind of manner ever before. And as if that wasn't profound enough, he took a moment and he nodded his head and he really quietly said to me, I want to share something with you. He said, there's a flower shop. And people love to go to the flower shops, and they go and they pick out what they really like and want. But usually what goes first and what's selected most often are the really common flowers, the ones that maybe aren't as expensive. And usually it's not until they're pretty picked out, or a rare person comes in, that something that's more expensive, unless it's by default, or like I said, or a rare person comes in, that they will take something that is more unique and more valuable. He said, but in that flower shop, there's always this really valuable, expensive, rare orchid, plant. He said, whatever you choose. And he said to me, I want you to think about yourself in that way. He said, well, there are other people that get picked and matched and partnered up really easily in life. You are that rare, valuable, expensive orchid. And so it's not going to be every person that comes in on every ordinary day that thinks that they are able to care for and sustain you in the way that your value and your uniqueness will be cared for and be promoted and be in a place that thrives. And as I get chills retelling that story, I immediately started crying. And I don't know to this day that anyone has ever... I mean, there's certainly been some really profound things that have been said to me, but that's certainly coming from a complete and total stranger. And that he saw this, that it prompted him to share this sort of really prophetic metaphor with me, was profound. And, the funny thing is that it began towards the end of the day when he said this. And so with all that, he just was turn around and just started packing up his table like it was nothing. And so here I am 5 years later thinking it still had such a special moment for me and it had such wisdom in it. And so, like I said, for whatever reason, I'm being prompted to share that with all of you today. And so, 2 messages. If your marriage has ended in particular, or a relationship has ended in particular, and at that point it had been 6 years, stop judging yourself about it being your fault somehow, or that you should have done better, or maybe that you've made a wrong choice, and know that happened for the exact reason to be able to bring you here where you are today, and so that you can be the person that you are today, because this is who the world needs of you today. And the second message is for those that maybe have been single a really long time, and I know that the pain of that can be very real for some of you, and it is something that many of us, really crave and desire to be in a relationship. Try and shift your perspective a little bit and know that God, the universe, spirit, whatever that is to you, is holding you in a space that until somebody who understands your value, your worthiness, and can truly honor you and take care of you and help you to thrive comes into your life, this is exactly where you need to be. And so, I hope some of you that gives you some healing and some inspiration. I'm glad that I was able to share that with you today. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. If you'd like to share a profound story with me, I'm always loving to hear them. So reach out. And until next time. Have a great day.